Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So someone asked me on Instagram to make another video about my weed journey. They asked me to talk about the anxiety part and also share my personal pros and cons. And so I made some notes here and I'm gonna share it with y'all. To start with the anxiety part, for me, I started smoking because I had a lot of stress at work. The anxiety I had there was around every meeting, every call, every project, sort of being life or death. The stakes are super high on everything I'm doing. If I do it wrong, I'll be homeless. I had enough awareness to recognize this is not the truth of things. This is my fear, this is my anxiety speaking. But I didn't have the tools at the time to actually change my perspective through things like meditation or breath work or like a process to move the energy in my body, or even to like use like exercise and walks in nature. I just didn't really understand how effective and powerful those tools could be. And it was a quick fix to just smoke weed and kind of artificially suppress those feelings of anxiety and fear. The other way smoking showed up in my anxiety was when it came to social anxiety. So there was a period of time, especially when I moved to LA, where I was in a new city, was really trying to make friends, build community, where I would put myself out there. Like I remember a friend connected me with a girl whose birthday party was happening, and I had never even met this girl, but I was showing up not only to like meet her, but then to do it in this like big party situation. And I think a lot of people know what it's like to have that anxiety. There's this movie, Lars and the Real Girl. It's actually here on YouTube for free. It's so beautiful. It stars Ryan Gosling. And there's a scene in that movie that I think is so powerful because it shows him on the front step in front of the house, you know, where the party is, and he's someone who has a lot of social anxiety. It's a very big deal for him to be at this party, and you just see his finger just hovering over the doorbell. It just perfectly encapsulates just that feeling of like frozenness, that feeling of like shock and fear, where you're like, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. That movie is so beautiful, highly recommend it. And so what I found is that I was like, all right, before any kind of social engagement, I was basically just getting a little bit high just to like ease that anxiety. And so I want to take that into my pros and cons list. And we'll start with the pros. We'll start with them pros, y'all. Because the thing is, for me, smoking weed was effective as a short-term solution. I felt anxiety, I smoked a little bit of weed, I'm happy and calm, and I have that bigger perspective, that wider picture that everything's gonna be okay. It's fine. It's just a call. It's just a meeting. It's just a party. It's just a dinner. It's fine. Instead of doing the inner work, which does take more effort, and depending on how you choose to do it, can also be quite costly. Therapy, y'all. Instead of doing any of that, I could spend about $30, you know, buy a weed pen, and boom, there is my anxiety, in the short term anyway, suppressed to the point where I can go out, have fun. And this is obvious, but it's also really fun. Like if smoking weed and being high wasn't really fun, we wouldn't do it. And I do feel very grateful because now I understand that there's a difference between being high artificially and being high on life, like having that dopamine and all those good energies like running in your system, and that you can just create that by yourself. You don't need something external to do that. But there is this shortcut that you can do, and depending on your budget, $30 is not that expensive to sort of access that feeling for yourself. As I was writing this list, I thought about the other ways people rely on external stimulants and things like that, and the way, you know, certain ones just are accepted in society. Coffee is the one I think about because coffee is a stimulant. It's also habit forming and can be addictive basically. And if you are used to using it as like your pick-me-up, like first thing in the morning, you will find that if you try to stop, you will literally have withdrawals. So there are certain things in culture where it's much more acceptable to be like, oh yeah, I need to have my coffee every day. Don't talk to me before I have my coffee. And so I think a big part of my relationship to weed has been wrestling with the stigma attached to smoking. I hosted a call with Hello Creator on this topic. People named that. They named all the other things from like food to relationships to media, like being on your phone, all the different ways that we can create these addictions. And the point is to make us be okay in our life and feel okay. And the way folks don't use it in this sort of, I need this kind of energy, but it's more something they do casually. It's a part of their practice, and it's not something that's causing them stress or causing them turmoil. I think it's important to to remember that you always know your personal relationship to any of these substances. No one can tell you this is bad, you should stop, because you know the truth of why you're doing it, why you're motivated to do it, and your true power to stop if you want to. And the cons, of course, are that there's the physical effect of like bringing all this smoke into your body. There's the fact that it can add up. So $30 one time isn't that expensive, but depending on how often you're smoking, $30 every day, every couple of days, that can add up really quick. And of course, that effectiveness, it actually decreases over time. So in my experience, I found that the more I smoked, the faster, of course, that it would stop helping me get to that feeling of euphoria that I was trying to access. And this past month, when I did kind of go back to it, it only took a week of smoking every day before I was like, this isn't as fun as it was literally 5 days ago. And not only is it not fun, it's less fun than how I was feeling when I was just sober. And that was when I realized, okay, it's not quite for me. The biggest con was really about my personal power. I think everyone has some level of import that they put towards like their own understanding of, I have the power to create my reality, I have the power to choose my own destiny. And personally, when it came to weed, I knew that instead of developing the skill set that I knew was possible to be able to control my own destiny and bring myself into this feeling of joy and gratitude and all these beautiful emotions, I was outsourcing that to weed. And I just personally wanted to be able to know, not just to know intellectually, I wanted to know in my frequency, in my embodiment, that I had the power to be on any frequency that I wanted. There's a part of me that even feels like there's some hubris in saying that, to say that you have that much control. But in the process of quitting weed and doing all the practices around releasing fear and anxiety and grief and all these things, I have found that I can drop in pretty fast. Like within like 30 seconds, I can connect to this energy where I'm just so happy and so grateful and so joyful that I'm literally crying tears. I made a whole video about it where I talked about how I use crying from joy and gratitude as a way to manifest. And as a result, the anxiety that used to be a major part of my life has largely dissipated. You know, when I do work, I do a lot of consulting right now, and it's really beautiful because I'm working with people and I'm hosting community calls and all these great things. And before, those types of responsibilities would have filled me with so much anxiety and I wouldn't have known how to handle it. Now, I host a weekly call with Hello Creator. As the calls come up, I feel a little bit of nerves because I want it to go well. I want people to get value out of it, all of that. But I know how to drop in, connect to my heart, and really feel my true intention when it comes to being in the space. And then I do this thing where I connect to the heart of everyone who's going to be there. And I feel the truth of the love in their heart and how they want to show up and be of service and be creative in this world. And because I know it's coming from this place of love and not this place of fear, it makes the process of showing up at this work commitment really fun and beautiful and actually like a blessing. Well, I think there are a lot of people who do feel really grateful for the work they get to do, but I don't know how many people who find themselves smoking regularly before they like clock in for a shift are feeling like, wow, I'm so deeply, deeply grateful and blessed that I get to do this. Because I think if that was your energy, you'd find that you don't really need anything to kind of get you ready, you know, to be in that situation, because you would be happy to be there, you know? Those are my thoughts on the pros and cons of smoking weed. Obviously, the cons outweighed the pros because I'm not doing it right now. And I was asking myself this question, like, do you judge people who smoke? Because in the neighborhood I'm in, I literally can like look across the parking lot and there are like people on their balcony smoking. And instead I'm just happy for them. I'm like, that's so great. You have something that you can do. You have a way to relieve your stress. You have people that you can do it with in community. Good for you. If I was in a social situation, depending on the vibe, I would smoke with people, you know? What's nice is knowing that I don't have to. And I think that's the key, is when you can live a life where you're making true choices and not just doing things because of habits, because of social pressure, because of anxiety, because of fear, then you get to experience that true freedom in your life. Let me know if this was helpful. Comment below where you are in your weed journey. And I made this video because someone sent me a DM on Instagram and simply asked me. If you have specific questions, feel free to drop them below or send me a DM. If you want some creative coaching, you want some one-on-one support, you can get a free 30-minute call. And of course, you can hang out with me every week with Hello Creator for our weekly creative roundtables. You can RSVP below as well. All right, bye.